Hi, this is Owen Thornton, and this is my vlog, which corresponds with my weblog at OntarioCrafts.wordpress.com. I want to talk to you about something that was really exciting that happened to us on the 30th of May. But before I talk to you about that, I want to back up a little bit. The experience was so exciting and it's so detailed, and I want to share so much with you that I'm going to break this video up into two parts. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what happened and how we got things set up. I'm going to talk about two specific tastings that took place, and then I'm going to break off there and I'm going to do a second video on the last two tastings. So we're going to do two little videos here for you so that you can learn as much as we did, or as much as I think is important that we learned from Tawse and Redstone. So let me go backwards to the story here, and we're going to talk about how we learned about a virtual tasting through Tawse and Redstone. We subscribe, my wife and I, to a few e-newsletters of places either where we've been or where we want to go. In this way, you learn about new wines, new releases, new products. You don't have to go there to experience those things. Even if you went, you might miss that they have something new because sometimes you just don't look in the right place. So the e-newsletter keeps us abreast of what's going on in places where we like to go. So Tawse is certainly a high-end winery that we love very much. We like the wine there very much. And so we decided to sign up for their e-newsletters. We learned that they were going to do a virtual tasting on the 1st of May, or on the 30th of May, sorry, at 1 o'clock. And it was $200 for 4 bottles of wine and 4 different glasses, one of each type that would best serve or be served with the wine that they sent down to us. We had experience in the past where we had one kind of wine and different sizes and shapes of glasses, and we tried out the single wine in these different glasses. And we have learned that wine does taste differently when presented in different kinds of glassware. So we were excited to learn what kinds of glasses we should be using for the wines that were going to be sent. And I don't even know if we knew at the time what wine they were sending. We just said it's Tawse, it's Redstone, it's going to be great wine. It doesn't matter what they send, we're going to enjoy it. And that was very true to the story. So we signed up, we paid in advance. When we talked to them, we learned about how they delivered their product. There was no extra charge for delivery. We learned over the course of the talk that the wine was approximately about $160 in value, and that each piece of stemware was $10. Now, we did pay an extra $40 so that each of my wife and I could have a glass for each type of wine. When we went online to look for the Schatzweisel stemware that we were sent, we couldn't find it anywhere for less than $20 a glass. So somewhere along the line, the shipping, the cost of the wine, and the glassware itself, there was some deal to be had there for us. So we felt that we did rather well by the price point. So that is just it. So let's go to the 30th, and I'll talk to you about how the video went and what happened during that video. So we received in advance a Zoom link in our email account, and we pressed that button and we hooked up very easily. We were met there by 5 individuals from Tawse and Redstone, and I'm hoping I've got one name I wasn't sure of. I didn't catch it at the beginning, and later it was said, and I think we put it all together. I think I've got the names correct here. So we had Paul Pender, who is the Director of Viticulture and Winemaking. We had Diana Ferreira, I believe that's right. She was the glass expert from Schatzweisel, I believe, or at least represented Schatzweisel in this instance. Jessica Oding was a winemaker from Tawse. Vicki Smith is the Director of Sales and Hospitality, and Jennifer Carter was from Redstone. And they all 5 greeted us friendly with introductions. Everybody could see them. We could not see one another the way the video chat was organized, which was okay because there were 77 people or 77 households that dialed into the Zoom chat. And we believe that many of those 77 households were like ourselves, which was a couple. So there'd be about 150 people involved in the tasting. We were also able to designate questions to them in a chat box that ran down the side of the Zoom shots. So that was great. We could ask questions as the talk about the wine went on. So those were some of the things that happened. So now the technological problems did occur, as you all may all have experienced in the past with Zoom or Skype chats or Teams meetings. One person we lost and came back. We eventually did lose Paul Pender altogether. He just his internet couldn't sustain the chat, and he couldn't keep the link going, and we did lose him. So we were entertained by the four ladies that were remaining to us, and we received great information from them. So I'd like to go through in this part of the video just the first two tastings. Both of the whites came from Tawse, and I want to talk to you a little bit about those. So the wines that came through Tawse was a 2019 Riesling from Carly's Block and a 2019 Chardonnay from Robin's Block. The Tawse property, I'm not sure how the blocks are organized. I don't have a vision for it, but I do know that sections of the vineyards are named after the children of Maury Tawse. So that's part of it. The Riesling came from a 1 acre plot, and there was only 1,200 bottles of this particular product sold. I'm going to put a picture up there of the bottle so you can see it, and I'm going to hold up the glass that we used to drink with it in just a moment. So this Riesling was absolutely bracing in its acidity, and probably that was enhanced somewhat with its high minerality. If you talk about minerality, if you think of yourself as like licking a stone, there was a lot of that kind of flavor in this wine, which is this is one of the boldest, perhaps most acidic wines I've ever had. But it was in balance because they left 35 grams per liter of residual sugar in the bottle, and so the sharp acidity was balanced by the sweetness of the wine, and the minerality came in there, and there were undertones of honey in this wine. This was a phenomenal wine. I'm going to show you the glass. They called it an aromatic glass, and I'm going to show you this. This is the glass that we use to consume, and just to kind of give you an example, we'll do them all at once here. Here's the Chardonnay glass, which we used. So you can see the bowl is significantly different. A lot more air would come into this bowl, the Chard glass. A lot more air would come into that. And this one here is small and would allow a lot more of the aromatics of a Riesling to come up and hit the nose, which of course helps you to experience the wine. We did I'm trying to get the bottles and the size right. We had a larger glass, and you can see how much taller this one is. I believe that was the Cab Franc one. I may be wrong on that. And then we had a Meritage, and this one is very large, and the stemware is trying to get the same height here. You can see that it's can't even get it on the camera. There we have to back this one up. It's so tall. So this one here was for the Meritage. So this was the glass that we used to drink the Riesling. We learned, now I'm not going to get all the details right, but we did learn the how the grape grew that year, the weather conditions, some of the things that they used to do that. I'm going to get a little bit more specific with the Chardonnay because there were some really cool points about the Chardonnay. But 1 acre, 1,200 cases of wine, 1,200 cases of wine. 1,200 cases? Is that right? 1,200 cases, 1,200 bottles. What did they say about that? In my notes here, can I find it quickly? I may not be able to find that. 1,200 cases sounds right. $1,200 bottles. No, 1,200 bottles. Yeah, not very much. And it was part because it was a dry year, and the grapes didn't have a chance to get a lot of moisture inside of them, and so that was made it a small batch for the year. So anyways, this Riesling was really wonderful, and I encourage you all to give a taste of that if you ever get a chance to try that. The second one we had was the Chardonnay, and the picture will be over here. And here's the glass that goes with it. It was interesting to learn about the Chardonnay. They put it in French oak. Now, I don't know an awful lot about the wine production process, but I know enough to be dangerous. So I do know that there's many kinds of oak, but traditionally we're talking French and American. You use French oak when you want results from the wood to be a little bit more subtle, because the French oak grows slower and the cells are smaller, and so the osmosis process of the wine going into the wood and coming back out of the wood is more subtle than if it was American oak, where the cell structures are larger and it's easier for osmosis to take place. So they used French oak. They also used a light toast. Now, so the inside of the barrel is burnished or burned, and a light toast means that the osmosis again would be a little bit lighter than if they burned the inside of the barrel and had did a darker or fuller toast of that barrel inside. So they did a light toast. What was, I thought, really interesting to me, which I don't know why I never thought of this, but you think of a wine going into a certain kind of barrel and it all goes into those barrels. In this case, only 20 to 30% of the Chardonnay went into new French oak barrels. New barrels would impart a greater amount of flavor than barrels that had been used once before. So second use barrel, third use barrel, fourth use barrel, fifth use barrel. And interestingly enough, this Chardonnay actually had was put in this batch was actually put into, as I said, 20 to 30% into the fresh oak, and then second, third, fourth, and fifth use barrels. So it was more about mellowing the wine and getting oxygen in there to do its work for the wine as it's aging, rather than putting a good solid oak or wood kind of taste to the wine. You did notice in this wine that there were notes of vanilla, and anytime you have notes of vanilla, that's always showing a secondary characteristic of the production of making the wine. So we did notice vanilla. I thought it was a sort of a stone fruit, but the speakers talked to us about the fact that there was mango and pineapple and banana on the nose, so the tropical fruit notes on this white wine. I didn't get those notes, but then sometimes my palate is off, and for sure, I'm not the expert in Chardonnays, because I typically find that I don't like Chards, but I really did like this one very much. And the other interesting thing about this one, and I told you that I was going to talk to you a little bit about the Chardonnay, was that they used a wild yeast. What I didn't know and did learn from this virtual tasting is that commercial yeast can be purchased to allow a vintner to make a wine taste in a certain way by using a certain kind of yeast. In this effort here by Tawse, the goal was to try to get the Chardonnay to be as natural as possible rather than to be contrived by the yeast. So they used this wild yeast compound as opposed to anything commercial. So it made it light. There was no breadiness to it. It hadn't been done on the lees, for example, where the yeast is active in the wine and falls down, and they stir the lees up to get that bready kind of quality. Sometimes a biscotti kind of quality can come into the wine. None of that was there present in this Chardonnay, and it was very lovely, and I really liked it very much. So far what we've done is we've talked a little bit about following the e-newsletters of your special wineries, distilleries, and breweries, which we did. We caught this one, we read it, we found out that there was going to be a virtual tasting. We signed up, we paid in advance, we negotiated how that bottle was going to be received to us so that we could get it safely, so that porch thieves didn't steal the product from our porch. We arranged a time when we could be home to receive it. We did that as well. We went on a Zoom chat. We met 5 people who were talking to us about the wines and how they were made and the qualities that were in them, and about the glassware as we were going through it as well. We had a great time. We enjoyed ourselves very much, and I'm going to get back to you in just a little bit and talk to you about the last 2 red wines that we had, both from Red Stone.